Welcome back to another episode of the Remote No Pressure Podcast, Bill.
Hey, good to be back.
Welcome back to the sky.
Yes.
Downloaded from the sky.
Downloaded from the sky.
Yeah, this week we've actually interviewed a fellow from Pennsylvania named Alex Charlton.
Awesome.
Who recently did a movie called Falls, or it's a short film called Falls City. What'd you think of the film? The short film
really makes me want to get out there and fish the waters. They got some beautiful streams there, don't they?
It was, yeah. So they're just south of Pittsburgh, which we were there a couple months back, and it's such a cool area with the mountains.
It is.
What'd you think about it?
It's just gorgeous. I love driving through that kind of country.
Yeah,
and just all the hills and mountains, like different kind of mountain than what what you see out west. I haven't been out west either, but I mean, we don't have anything like that here in Michigan.
No, not like that. It was really cool to see, and I knew there was some cool rivers and stuff somewhere close. But the TU chapter we were at was actually his chapter.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah.
Was he at our?
He wasn't able to make it out. He was kind of bummed about it, but it was really cool just to talk to him and hear about their fly fishing scene down there. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have that. We'll put the links up to all of the to the short film that they have. And also, big shout out to Kaz. We actually he invited me and Drew Nelson up to fly fish. Thanks, Bill.
Yep, I saw you were struggling.
I had a brain fart right there. Me and Drew Nelson up. It was Drew Nelson's birthday. Drew Nelson's a singer-songwriter that's been on the podcast. And he invited us up to go fishing this week.
That's pretty cool.
Very special time. Go check out True North Trout on Facebook, or we'll put some links up to that too. But, I've been fishing for a while, and you don't realize how bad you really are at fishing until you get around people like pros, pros, because it wasn't like, because he was fishing too, and he knew the river, he knew, what patterns to use. He is just really good at what he does anyways.
Yeah.
But it was like, wow, like this is really cool to experience this. But I also felt very inadequate.
That's how you get better, though. Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever been put in a situation like that?
When I was in high school.
Really?
I got on the river with. No, I'm just kidding. I was learning guitar.
Okay.
And so I would spend my afternoons like in Cadillac at the guitar shop every day that I could, that I wasn't working.
Playing Stairway to Heaven?
Yep. Well,
Freebird?
Trying. And, but you get around these, like, there's a lot of cool metalheads up there in Cadillac. And
really?
You just see what guitars they prefer. They'll show you some little, like, oh, here's a Metallica riff,
Yeah.
And, then you just jam with them and you get better and better just learning off these people.
They had a guitar shop up at Cadillac?
Yeah, they did.
Well, is it still there?
I believe it has now since been shut down.
Yeah, because it's not a huge population up there.
No.
But, used to in the fly shops, like, you'd go into the fly shop and they would hand tie the flies there, and then you buy the flies from the fly shop.
That's pretty cool.
And now they have them made in a sweatshop or whatever, you know what I mean? They import them.
Yeah.
And used to, like, and we've talked about this before, used to the hub of the community was the local fly shop.
Yep.
You go in there, you learn new patterns, you talk, you shoot the breeze with people, kind of like what you're saying with music. But with the evolution of the internet, it seems like it's like one giant fly shop now.
Yeah.
Because like Instagram, Facebook, I mean, some of the things that you find, it's just interesting to see that transition.
And I kind of feel to an extent, too, people are losing contact with that community feeling like that. You know what I mean? You go into the fly shop or you go into the guitar shop and you meet these people in your area and you talk shop with these people in the area, and it kind of becomes family, where now with the internet, you kind of lose that. It's like, it's more acquaintances than friends. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, and the term followers, like on Instagram and Facebook, followers, it sounds like we're starting a cult.
Or you're stalking somebody. Yeah, I'm gonna follow you on Facebook.
Yeah, it's like, you're creeping me out, dude. Yeah. But it's just kind of weird. Like we talked a little bit about the influencer generation. I don't know if that was last week or whatever, but like kind of what's next, and people like. Influence like 18-year-old life coaches and stuff like that. Like, it's really tough for me. It's really hard for me to like try to get followers, and it's just one of those things that I want to be a slacker. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Our generation talking right there.
Yes, but how can you be that way on social media? You know, it's one of those things that we're constantly talking about. But
outsource, hire a kid in India.
Yeah.
They'll do it for like $5 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
You sound like you have some experience with this, Bill. What have you been hiring Indian kids to do for you?
I can't talk about it.
I
can't talk about it.
You'd have to kill me. Look, I got this guy you can contact, and you can hire him for like $5 a week. Dude, no, but, it's like, do you think, though, because if you notice, I know in Michigan, people are going more back to that local feel. Like, let's go local. Let's go to that small niche store.
Your neighborhood brewery.
Yeah, breweries are an excellent.
Huge right here now.
Yeah, and do you think maybe eventually in the evolution things will evolve to hey, let's go back to the local fly shop?
I do. I think we're heading back that way. We're still going to have like the Amazons out there where you can buy anything you want from anywhere in the world, but I think we're going back to that smaller feel again. I really think we are.
We had Joel LaFallen on here from the Royal Treatment Fly Shop out in Portland, I believe, Oregon. And we, especially earlier on in the podcast, it was in season 1 really early. He came on and we were talking about the death, quote unquote, of the local fly shop.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah, and he wasn't too keen on that because he owns a fly shop, obviously. But it wasn't that he wasn't too keen on it. Like he was mad about it. He's just like, my fly shop is thriving, And I'm like, well, why? Well, they make. Every Saturday morning, I think his mother-in-law or someone makes homemade chocolate chip cookies. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I would go there if those homemade chocolate chip cookies. You go there, learn how to tie some patterns.
Meet some new people.
He's really developed that sense of community.
That's awesome.
And, like, he's got a mailing list, like, with a 90% open rate, an email list.
Wow.
90% of them are open. Like, the dude has just really built, like, this sense of community. So I think we're going to come back to that, just like the breweries, you know. Speaking of breweries, I find it interesting, though, in this film that they don't drink microbrews.
Drinking Coors.
They drink in Coors Light, bro. I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. But that's kind of cool. Speaking of the slacker generation, I don't care. Yeah. I'm drinking Coors. It's awesome. So we're going to head for the mountains here at the podcast. And welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited to talk to Alex Charlton. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff. Excited to be on.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I got your email, and you said, you do listen to us. So we really appreciate you doing that, Alex. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Well, no, I really appreciate the response. And it's kind of one of those things where, I was talking, a little bit about being a fan of the podcast and kind of listening for a while. And so it's always weird to kind of make that connection, break that barrier for the first time when it's someone you don't know at all. and you kind of like, you want to give it the benefit of the doubt. You're like, oh, they'll definitely respond to me. They'll definitely respond to me.
Yeah.
And I can continue to be a fan of Jeff's and stuff and like, that type of thing. So it was really exciting getting, a message back from you, and especially that you had checked out the film and liked it, which was awesome. So thanks.
Yeah, it is good. Now, was that the first film you were really involved with, Alex, or?
So that was kind of the first type of project that my company that I work for, Stone Road Media, really did kind of as like with no agenda, if that makes sense.
Okay.
We're like a full service marketing agency. So a lot of the stuff that we've done in the past, video work, and creative work in general, has been kind of the behind the scenes stuff. We work a lot in the advertising space for Google ads and also social media ads. So a lot of things that you kind of can't show your mom, not in a bad way, but things that people don't see, they're the things that you're served to buy a product. So you can't really share them on your Facebook page or anything like that. It's kind of the behind the scenes stuff. So this was the first time that we got to kind of sit down and kind of plan this more of a like short film type of narrative storytelling aspect. And so that was really different for us as a company, and kind of had to adjust the way that we usually do something, we usually do this. So.
Yeah, but that's excellent. Well, the name of the film is Fall City, and we'll put a link up on the show notes and in our socials so people could check it out. But what made you guys decide to focus on is it Ohiopyle, and how do you say the other river?
Yeah. So the river that we're focusing on in Falls City is the Youghiogheny River. And so the Youghiogheny River kind of starts in West Virginia and flows up through Maryland and Pennsylvania. And actually, where you were at in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, Jeff, the city of three rivers, Youghiogheny is one of those. And the mouth of the Monongahela, actually in Pittsburgh, is kind of where the Youghiogheny flows into. So it's kind of unique to be from this area where these rivers kind of mean so much to the recreation and kind of the community here. But Ohiopyle State Park is a state park actually near where our office is in Uniontown, and it's a small town, and I think there are like less than 100 people that kind of live there full time. But it's in the truest sense like an Eastern recreation town, and so it's really unique in the sense that it blows up in the summertime, and there are kayakers and anglers and people that are just outdoor enthusiasts that kind of come and seek refuge there, if you will, and just hang out and just enjoy everything that the little town has to offer. And it really is established by this river, the Youghiogheny River, and that's why we really kind of wanted to paint the picture from a fishing perspective. That one of the people that I work with, his name is Jared. We were kind of talking about Ohiopyle as a whole and just kind of the uniqueness that it has. And he said, it would be really cool to just explain this to someone that doesn't know anything about it. And I think it would be easy to do it with a visual medium. It's kind of the only way that you can do it, because it's kind of like a storybook type of place. It's almost like a fictitious place that you would have in a movie. And, just the people are unique and the activities are unique, and it really is, it has like a storybook kind of quality to it. And that's what really kind of inspired us to do that, especially from the fishing element, because, we have a lot of people in our office that are anglers and seek that special place in the Youghiogheny River and are very familiar with it. So it seemed something, it was kind of a safe bet that we would be able to make something that meant a lot to us, because it really does.
Yeah, I would assume, for the most part, that it's easier to make art about something you love and you're passionate about, rather than something that, not that you wouldn't do a great job if a client hired you to make a movie, but this one seems like your heart's really into it.
Yeah, and it goes to show, it says a lot about this being kind of our first piece that we did, like I said earlier, without kind of an objective or kind of an end goal. This is what we decided to make it on, and it was so much easier because of that. And we didn't really make it from a place of authority. It was more, like you said before, of respect and kind of love. So that's what made it easy.
Now, I'm assuming you're a fly angler, right, Alex?
Yeah, actually. So recent fly angler. I've been fishing, most of my life. My dad taught me to fish when I was a lot younger, and I've always used spinning tackle. Always kind of fished that way. And I had tried. There were kind of checkpoints in my life when I picked up a fly rod and tried to cast and tried to learn from. Actually, a neighbor was when I was growing up was a really proficient fly fisherman, and so he tried to teach me a little bit when I was 10 or 11, and it was just very frustrating for me. I obviously kind of surpassed my attention span, and so I kind of just kept the spinning rod in my hand, and up until I guess last year is when I really kind of tried to give it another go and really tried to devote some time into it. So that's kind of how it started for me. But the one person that you see in Falls City, his name is Garrett Brain. He actually is a content manager for Stone Road. So we work together, and he is, he's an extremely fishy guy, and he's kind of, you can see in the movie, even though it's a very short, segment of his, he's kind of just like a sage almost. And he's the guy who really kind of helped me get started with fly fishing, and he's kind of like my older brother. So it was really special to include him in this piece. And he's obviously very connected to the park and the river as well. He guided on the Youghiogheny for a number of years. So, he knows a lot of the people there, and he kind of is familiar with the recreational aspect of Ohiopyle that I was speaking on earlier, the kind of the coming and going. And, when we filmed his portion and talked about it, he said that, wherever he kind of found himself in his life, it was always like a place to go back to and to run to. And that kind of really established we're going to make this about the sense of place. It's not really even about fishing. That's what it kind of has in it, but it's about this place. And I think that's comforting, whether you're a new angler or kind of someone that's experienced. If you watch it, I think you can kind of connect with that. And I think everyone has a place like that they've maybe learned to fish or, fish most frequently.
Yeah. And it's a good point, because I think everyone who's listening, you have like your home water, that you're comfortable with, that you know where the fish are hiding. And yeah, it's cool to fish other places. It's great. But something about when you get to your home water or it's like your hometown, even if you've been gone for 30 years, when you get there, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember where that little stream came into the river right there, and all of a sudden you're back there.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that obviously differs from person to person, but that feeling that you said, it kind of, you can kind of pick that up with anything, and you can, even if it's not with fishing, I think you can relate to that. Anyone can kind of relate to that.
So, Alex, you made this transition just last year from more spinning gear to fly gear. What do you think so far? What's your thoughts on it?
Oh, I read something. It was probably on the internet, in the deep depths of the internet. That was kind of like it was like a conversation of a forum. It was like a Reddit thread or something about, why do people fly fish anyway? Like, why does anyone do this? Why does anyone put themselves through this?
Right.
And it was, I'm going to probably butcher it, and I don't remember verbatim. I wish I would have written it down, but it was something along the lines of, once you kind of learn, once you know that you're able to catch fish, and that you have the ability to do that, whether it's with spinning tack or what have you. You spent a while catching fish, and for that, that instance was kind of relatable for me, because I had fished most of my life, and so I knew that I could catch fish, and I've caught fish before. But the kind of like spiritual thing is like using a different method to do it, and even if you don't catch fish, it's like spending all that time just to kind of hone that craft that you're working on, and that particular method. And so, this little segment of this forum was talking about, you could spend all day on the water to not catch anything, but it's not really about that. It's about, working towards kind of perfecting this, or at least just becoming proficient or more proficient, and kind of gaining these little, these little achievements along the way, I guess. And I kind of relate to that. It's for me, my kind of short fly fishing journey has been very much that, just kind of little things that kind of like, okay, I learned how to do this better today. And, I didn't catch a fish, on this afternoon or something like that, but, I did this differently. And I was kind of exposed to this circumstance, or I was able to observe this. And so that's kind of really what's been fun for me. I don't think I've ever had an activity that can drive me as, not even drive me insane, but like kind of discourage me so much at the same time as encourage me, if that makes any sense.
Tell me more.
The best way I can explain it is like spiritual. Mm-hmm. I think it is that. And, it's really a bizarre thing, because it can kind of kick your pride a little bit, I think. And I think a lot of anglers, especially people that maybe pick it up later in life after they've kind of been fishing a different way and fishing successfully a different way, mm-hmm. can kind of be like, wow, I think I just suck at fishing. I'm terrible at this. Maybe I wasn't, maybe this whole life of mine was kind of a scam, and I was like just lucky the whole time. And like, this is actually how people fish, and how they kind of flex this skill that they have. Mm-hmm. And so, I think it's humbling, and I think the best way for me to explain it is, it's just a movement and like a spiritual thing.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a quick story. So I just recently went on a fishing trip with Brian Kosminski, who is part of True North Trout. He is a fly guide up in northern Michigan, and and Drew Nelson, who's a musician we've had on the podcast here. Drew Nelson, singer-songwriter, and phenomenal singer-songwriter, super talented, and Brian Kosminski, I play music as well. He kind of connected us, and then he's like, "Why don't you two come up north and go fishing with me?" It was like an invite thing. It wasn't like as a service. It was like a friend, right? And I was like, "Wow, man, I appreciate that." And so we go up there, and he has his drift boat, and we're drifting, and Kaz is fishing too, and I was like, they're catching. Well, Drew Nelson, he caught a couple of really nice browns. I caught a very small brookie. But hanging out with Kaz, he knows what he's doing. Like, he's out there, multiple times a week with clients and stuff. He's been doing it for years. And it was very humbling. It was like,
definitely.
This dude really knows his stuff. He knows the hatches. He knows where the fish are. He knows the rivers. He knows, he asked me to paddle the boat. He has a drift boat for a second. I'm like, I've never done that before, And I warned him. I'm like, look, this is not going to end well. He's like, nah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is not, and it did not end well. And I'm like, I told you guys, but they were super patient and gracious. But it was a pretty humbling experience, and a lot of the guys I fish with are kind of like my same level.
Sure.
And it was really cool to hang out with someone who was like a couple experts, because Drew, he's a singer songwriter and this snap, but he's a heck of an angler as well, So it was like, man, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut and watch you guys and learn as much as I can, But
definitely.
I think too, like a lot of people have compared it, Alex, to golf, because with golf it's like you're always trying to get take just 2 strokes off my game, or just 1 stroke off or something, And with fly fishing, it's like if I could just catch 1 more fish, or if I could just tie this 1 more different kind of fly, or if I could have done just
read this scenario a little differently. And I think that it's cool to see someone, like you were saying, it's cool to see someone in real life, because you can watch videos and you can watch the informational stuff and be like, okay, so this is actually how it's done. But until you kind of witness that greatness or whatever, it's like, it's kind of like a fable or something,
right.
And so you see it in real life and it's like, oh wow, this is possible. This can be done. And this is what it's like. And so I had a few good experiences like that too, kind of during that first year, fishing with different people and fishing with Garrett, as I mentioned, and kind of just observing the way that he does things and kind of learning from that. So that's I agree with that right on.
Well, this episode of the Remote No Pressure podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Deli Fresh Design and Sandhill Coffee.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoy Sandhill Coffee.
As do I.
And it is delicious. Mm-hmm. And Phil Wingo is offering our listeners a discount. If you type in, because a lot of times you're like, I don't know if I want to try this, because I do have to pay for shipping. I have to get it shipped out and everything.
I'll just find it on Amazon.
I'll just get it, or somewhere like that. You know what I mean?
I'm a Prime member.
I'm a Prime. No, but speaking of supporting our local, like we talked about in the intro.
Yep.
Sandhill Coffee is made in Illinois, but he's also one of us. He's a fly angler, and he's offering our audience a discount code outside19 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So if you're on the edge of whether you should try it or not, you could try it. You could put that code in. You're going to get a discount, and that should cover most people's shipping, I would assume. So try Outside 19 at sandhillcoffee.com. Also, this week, Ross White from Deli Fresh Design was up hanging out with me.
How did that go?
It was amazing.
You had a lot of fishing in lately.
Don't make a big deal about it. The wife may or may not know about all of my fishing trips, and I don't think she listens to the podcast. No, she does. She told us. No, but Ross White came up. We had a great time. Awesome. He's doing a tour. He's basically living out of his van down by the river.
Oh, not a bad lifestyle, though.
Not a bad lifestyle. Even his sheets on his bed inside his thing is made of burgers. It looks like burgers. Actually not made of physical burgers.
Okay.
But
I was going to say, that's got to be a greasy bed.
But he's really dedicated to the whole Deli Fresh thing.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But we had a great time, and he makes high-quality fly fishing gear made out of recycled materials such as waders. He's offering our audience a discount code of RNP20. RNP20 at checkout and get a 20% discount.
That as well is a good deal.
Very good deal. Like we said, buy $1,000 worth of stuff
and get $200 free.
You can't afford not to spend $1,000. All right, let's get back to the podcast. You said you grew up fishing, so is your family like a family of anglers, or tell me about your family?
Yeah, so actually, I grew up closer to at Bedford County. It's kind of southwest, closer to central PA, and you know the Laurel Highlands, Somerset County, and that area. It's really kind of a hotbed for small stream fishing, and you know Pennsylvania has a ton of fishable trout waters. I want to say that it's like as much fishable streams as like Alaska or second only to Alaska or something like that. It's incredible. And I don't think that I really learned how great it was until I was kind of a little bit older. But yeah, as a kid, I started fishing probably like most people kind of in ponds and things like that. I remember, you know, being 4 or 5 years old and kind of fishing in my grandpa's pond with my dad. And so, you know, that was kind of where I learned more about, you know, catching fish and what that was like. But, you know, as I was kind of growing up, I fished a lot in the Youghiogheny tributaries, really close to my house, where I grew up, where my family is from. And, you know, fishing with my dad in kind of mountain streams. And I think really kind of what got me to be more of a recreational fisherman to maybe more of a lifer, as you'd say, or something that, you know, really kind of maybe take it more seriously or kind of maybe appreciate it more even. Mm-hmm. I remember this, you know, like it was honestly, like, not to sound corny, but like I do remember this very vividly. I was with my dad, and it was in the spring, and we would fish a lot together, especially when I was younger, and kind of had less like responsibilities, you know, like middle school and even early high school and things like that. We'd fish a ton together. And this was definitely a younger kind of thing, but we were in a tiny, tiny stream, like shoulder width, I want to say, and very remote type of area. And I wasn't catching fish. I mean, it was just kind of a bad day for me. I wasn't really catching fish. And at that time, you know, when you're like 10 or whatever and you're not catching fish, I kind of, at least for me, I was like, yeah, short attention span. This is kind of lame. I'm ready to go home and do something else. And so I think my dad kind of maybe sensed that, and he had kind of pointed out a pocket in a like a fast moving part of the water in a small stream. He said, "There's a fish there," and he said, "I guarantee you, if you drop your line in here, you're going to pull out a fish." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And so I did that, and sure enough, I caught just like a small but just extremely vividly colored native brook trout out of this like super small pocket that in my 10-year-old or 11-year-old head, like there could be nothing in there other than rocks, and it's like 2 inches deep or something like that.
Right.
And so I remember that like gotcha moment of my dad kind of putting that together for me and me catching this fish. And I don't think that was probably the first native brook trout that I caught, you know, in a mountain stream or something like that. And maybe certainly not the first one I've seen, but for whatever reason, that was really kind of just imprinted in my memory. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of a next level. And so I think from that, I always try to remember that and kind of keep that in mind, like the way that I kind of felt at that moment. I still really enjoy kind of blue lining and doing those types of things and fishing in that water that I kind of really learned to not just fish, but more appreciate things and be respectful with handling a fish and kind of be respectful of that fragile ecosystem and just kind of how, touch and go it can be, especially, in our area where I was growing up, it's kind of a lot of coal mining towns. And so, from even in the late 80s and early 90s and stuff, I know a lot about other people saying about there was a lot more fishable water, and then it's kind of taken a hit from some coal mining stuff and some acid rain and pollution and things like that. So that's always kind of something that I've been very, attuned to and paid attention to, even as kind of a younger person, but especially now as I kind of explore more fishable waters and different types of fishable waters in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it is amazing those external factors that can affect the streams, and the water conditions.
It's wild. Yeah. It's wild. The guy that I was talking to you about earlier, my neighbor, his name is Bill, and he would, like I said, he's kind of a really, really proficient fly fisherman, and he's extremely well traveled. And I remember hearing stories, when I was a kid about. He was telling me about Montana, and he would fish out west, and that was kind of the first exposure to that because he would always have a camcorder on these trips, these guided trips, and I thought that was so cool. And so that was kind of like the first time I heard about that. But he had recently given me a lot of his collection of these just stream map books and stuff, and he. The best part about it is not just, the books are awesome. They're so cool and they're in great condition. He's very, a very particular person. So, but he took notes in these books. So it's like the streams of Laurel Highlands, for example. So where I kind of grew up fishing in Somerset and Bedford and Westmoreland County. And so he has all of these notes for these streams that, I've fished before in high school or college or whatever. And so I decided to try to see where he was fishing, where he had notes and kind of try to go back and almost revisit them. And it was a cool thing. And a few weekends ago, I was with my dad and I was at home. And so we were deciding to go fishing that weekend. And he was like, where do you want to go? We'll go Saturday morning or something. And kind of make a day of it. And I was like, well, why don't we take out this book that Bill gave me? And I said, we should try to find one of these streams that we haven't fished. And so we went to it's a state forest called Gallitzin State Forest, and it's about maybe 20 miles north of where my parents live. And there was a part of this stream, and it was called Cub Run or something like that. And it was in this book that Bill had given me, and it said there were just notes about fish that he had caught there, and native brook trout. He said were kind of holding up in this little stretch of this stream, and we got there and it was, we found it kind of after a little bit. And it was exactly like he had kind of included these special instructions. It was almost like a map, like a treasure map, like a pirate thing.
That's so awesome.
He said, he was like, park at the water authority gate and you can't drive back there, but you can bike back there. And it's not a short ride or whatever. So it was kind of in real time. My dad's pulling up to the spot. He's like, oh, that must be the blue water authority gate that he's talking about. And I said, yeah, and you can't take your truck back there. We can walk back there. So we walk back there and the water is just orange, sulfur orange. And no trace of any living anything in there once we finally got there.
Wow.
And it was so wild. And I'm assuming it's, acid rain or some sort of, coal related thing. I'm obviously not very well versed in that type of, water pollution, science, but that could kind of be what we concluded when we were there. And it was just, it was really kind of deflating to see that this book was, written in maybe the late 80s. And then Bill had, I had talked to him after we had done this, and that was probably in the mid 90s or something that he would have gone here and kind of fished. And so it's just wild to think, that's not too long ago. That was kind of when I was, it's not as old as I am. It's 24 years old or something like that since he's been there. And, in the grand scheme of things, it's not very long, but to kind of have a decimated population like that, no matter how many fish were in there, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that. And crazy to think about how kind of rich it seemed just even 20 years ago or 20 odd years ago or something like that. So that was kind of a weird moment for me, and I'm happy that we got to kind of explore that place, but it's just wild. It's wild how fragile, like I said earlier, how fragile it can be,
Yeah, especially some of those fish, like brook trout, especially, they're pretty sensitive to those. I guess you could say canary in the coal mine,
Absolutely, yeah, same thing.
But it's a fish, but they're pretty sensitive to those things. So it's pretty wild. But that sounds like a pretty cool book he left you, though. I mean, that's like, and that's one of the things. Of course, I like drop pins and GPS coordinates and all that, but it's something about that pen and paper, that you can hand off to someone, and that's a treasure. That's not like just a file he sent over to you in Dropbox. That's
right.
That's blood, sweat, and tears. He wrote those with some pencil or pen or whatever in Streamside, and you can just imagine that life that's in that he put into that. That's just awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's crazy. They're just like these little sticky notes, and I can visualize it exactly. And it's really cool, and that's a special thing for me. And a lot of the places that he's kind of made notes on are places that I've fished before and kind of continue to fish. So it's cool seeing that too. To take a little positive from it. There are still places that are doing very well in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a great place to fish, especially for these brook trout. And if you're into small mountain streams and kind of blue lining and exploring new places and kind of hoofing it, it's an awesome place. We were talking earlier about the big river of Ohio, or of the Youghiogheny River. And that is, a fishery all its own. It's truly a wild place, but, its tributaries and things like that are these smaller streams and these higher elevation streams. So it's really a good mix of places to fish. I really wouldn't rather, be anywhere else to fish. And I think a lot of the anglers, especially that we kind of focused on it in the movie, would agree with that. They fish a lot of different places, but Pennsylvania is very special to them, especially, southwestern Pennsylvania.
That's really awesome because, we've interviewed some people from, the east side of Pennsylvania. So it's good to hear about the southwest side of Pennsylvania.
Definitely.
Well, that whole map thing, that may be the next movie from Stone Road Media.
It definitely could be. Yeah, it definitely could be, kind of following those traces and stuff. So yeah, it's and that's the exciting thing about it. When you kind of do something, in Stone Road's case, when we do something for ourselves like this, it's what could be next? What can we kind of tell next that might be interesting? And I think that has all of us excited. Everyone, not just in our production team, but kind of everyone on our team. We're all very involved with this movie. It wasn't just kind of the video guys or the photo guys. It was everyone. It was kind of a group effort, and it was something that was really close to all of us because this is like our backyard,
right.
And so we wanted to do it. We wanted to do it right, and so that was cool. It was like really a good collaboration. But yeah, man, like you said, it's what could be next, and we got a lot of things kind of in the pipeline, but that's kind of always going to be something that I love the most is filming something that you really, really you love to do. And it kind of doesn't matter if you're not doing it because you're kind of there and you're observing with the camera. And, there was a lot of times that I kind of had to put the rod down because I was to film, not to fish. And I kind of didn't mind it as much as I thought I would.
Right.
And that was kind of the first time that I thought, I'm like, I'm not going to get to fish. This is kind of going to suck. I'm going to have to watch everyone else kind of wet a line, and this is going to be really frustrating, and it's kind of going to be like work. But no, I was just happy to be there and kind of be a fly on the wall and just kind of know that I was a part of it. And so that was really cool. So. Well,
cool. So if they go to stoneroadmedia.com, they can check out the video. We'll put a link up on the show notes. But how else could people get in touch with you directly, Alex, or with Stone Road Media as far as your socials and whatnot?
Yeah, so you can follow Stone Road Media on Instagram. We try to put a lot of our work there, whether photo or video work or what have you. Obviously, you can visit our Facebook page, Stone Road Media, as well. And then, like you said, the website, you can go to our Stone Road site and kind of drop us a line. There's a contact form page there, and we're kind of always attentive to that, because that's how we get in touch. We get in touch with a lot of different clients and people that maybe just want to collaborate with us. So I encourage you to do that if you're inclined, and definitely check out the video and kind of let us know what you think. Share it or whatever. Share it with a friend, and I hope it kind of it does its job as kind of, like I said, establishing this sense of place. And I hope people are able to see how important this place is to the different people featured in the short there. So,
well, thank you very much, Alex. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we'll be sure to follow you on the Instagram and stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate you watching and for the message. I'm glad we got to connect.
Well, that was a great episode, Bill.
Yeah, it was.
Had a great time talking to Alex and about the scene there in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to head back there and fish.
Yeah, we will. That'd be great.
It'd be awesome.
Let's plan a nice warmer trip. It was warm down there when we went. When we left Michigan, it was like chilly. Like, it was 60s, early 60s,
yeah.
or high 50s, low 60s, and then we got down there, it was like 80.
It was a beautiful night, too.
Yeah, it was.
It was awesome. But thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Don't forget to please leave us a review.
A review.
On iTunes or whatever platform that you listen on. We greatly appreciate that. Also, check out our sponsors, R&P. Check out our sponsors, Deli Fresh Design, Sandhill Coffee. And also, we got a really sweet Sasquatch decal on our website as well.
Yeah, we do.
NoPressure.com. Every dollar you spend on any of those things goes to help sponsor the podcast. And we really
right back in. And don't forget the writing contest, too.
The writing contest ending July 31st. And actually, we have some coffee donated from Sandhill Coffee and some gear from Deli Fresh Design that they've donated to our winners.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be really good. We're going to have really good prizes here, and we should know something by next.
I'm really excited for that for it to end, so we can start seeing them. But then again, that means the summer's more than half over.
Oh, that's
so it's
true.
Like, I can wait.
Yeah. Yeah. So get those pencils sharpened, because we all know you guys use pencils when you're writing.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's pencils. Lick the tip.
Hopefully it's graphite, not lead.
Yep. Make sure it's graphite tip, just the tip.
The old number 2.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, go fishing.